Pride/Prejudice, Chapter 2, Segment 2. It was not until the third day that Fitz understood Elizabeth was flirting. How slow he had been! Her unorthodox tactics had almost outmaneuvered him. The revelation had come when Miss Bingley enticed Elizabeth into strolling up and down the room, as if for exercise. Poor Caroline had so little finesse that she readily and happily fell into Fitz's trap, begging to hear his interpretation of why the women did better to walk without him. He had enjoyed confronting them with the truth, that they either wished to tell secrets or show themselves off before the gentlemen. Elizabeth had striven hard to avoid any such easy capitulation, and it was clear to see that the ignominy of Caroline's surrender had provoked the stronger mind almost to rudeness. "Mr. Darcy has no defect," Elizabeth said, in the odd discussion that followed, a deliberation on what minor sins constituted allowable targets for her arrows of wit. "He owns it himself, without disguise." Fitz tried to dwell on this slight, to hold its venomous barb deep in his flesh until it festered and turned black, in hopes of effecting a rough cure from the dangerous attraction. After 6 years of town life, he had despaired of finding a woman who was both pretty and intelligent, whose mental abilities matched her physical allure. The fact that the younger daughter of an impoverished country gentleman was weaving such a spell proved merely that he had set his ideal too high, and had disqualified any eligible contestants from the start. But oh, it was hard to resist. Fitz could only hope for the elder sister's swift recovery, and release from the bonds of enchantment, both for himself and for Charles. That first night of the eldest Miss Bennet's stay, Charles was awash in agony and terror that a serious illness afflicted his inamorata, and the second night was little better. But by the third day, when it seemed that she would, in fact, recover from a head cold, Charles was suddenly up again, in ecstasy with his love, and with no other means to express it, receptive to Fitz's attentions as he had not been in weeks. "Oh, God, Fitz," Charles said, lying in Fitz's arms, sweaty and dirty, and so adorable Fitz could have licked him clean for the sheer joy of soiling him all over again. "I've missed this." "It was not by my choice that you took aversion to our pleasures," Fitz reminded him. "I know." Charles lifted his head from where it rested on Fitz's chest, and stared into his friend's hooded eyes. "I hope you don't take it the wrong way that he stuttered on the dangerous admission he was about to make, "that this resumption of our love is because of her." "Miss Bennet?" Fitz asked. "In other words, you allow me to do with you what you'd rather be doing with her, if the rules of society allowed it?" "I wouldn't put it so crudely," Charles said, "but yes." "Naturally, I wish you to desire my love for its own sake," Fitz said, after contemplating his answer. "For my sake, and for the sake of our friendship, over this past year and more. But I do want you, and will take you in whatever way, and for whatever reason I am permitted to have you." He paused, watching his protégé for any sign of shame or discomfort. Heartened to see no reaction, good or bad, he decided to try an experiment. Give Charles a taste of his own medicine, see how he liked that. "If it makes it easier for you, I confess that the sister has had a similar effect on me." "Elizabeth?" Charles asked. "That's excellent." He lay down again, but on his back, hands behind his head, a prudent distance from Fitz. "Do you mean you imagine it's her you're fucking when you fuck me? Or do you mean that you'd like to have us both, together?" Fitz laughed, although he might have preferred a little jealousy on Charles's part, some wounded pride. Still, it was going to be all right. "My dear Charles, such depravity! No, not the two of you at once. At least, not until I've had a chance to try her alone." Little danger of that. One of her most appealing qualities was her rock-solid virtue. Playful she might be, flirtatious even, with a quicker wit than any female Fitz had ever known, but there was not the slightest appearance of immodesty. No, she was safe, utterly, delightfully safe. He could enjoy the look of her dark, wide eyes, and the surprising, arousing delicacy of her slight form and slender figure, such a contrast to the blousy, overripe sister, and feel immune from any worry that she might seduce him, tempt him to ruin her, and blackmail him into keeping her. And she had more than enough sense to know, that on such very different social levels as they were, there was not the least possibility of marriage between them. She was the perfect object for Fitz's admiration, so refreshing after Caroline and even Louisa's constant, wearying sycophancy. It was so deliciously satisfying to be able to taunt them with his genuine appreciation of another woman, shake them out of their complacency. Caroline needn't be so damned sure of him. It had been comforting at first, knowing that when he reached an age, 30, 35 perhaps, when remaining a bachelor was becoming problematic, he could resign himself to matrimony, and she would be there for him, always willing. She'd be an aging spinster by then. But what matter? She would be grateful and happy, and would accept any terms he chose to make. There'd be time to get a brat or two on her, and eager as she was, she'd do whatever was required, take him in her mouth, or go on all fours, to rouse him to hardness. Now it was becoming stultifying. At least Caroline had her supposed virginity to protect, but Louisa, safely married, could throw herself at Fitz with abandon, and with no fear of any embarrassing consequences. Damn, he hadn't thought of that when Charles had explained that his elder sister, Mrs. Hurst, and her husband would be staying with him in his household. Household, indeed. It was Fitz she liked living with. Fitz she tormented with her constant adulation, egging Caroline on in her hopes of eventual wedded bliss, and implying, with every word, every look, that in marrying one sister he would gain the favors of both. Charles rolled over and kissed Fitz on the lips, interrupting his thoughts. "Are you going to lie there like a log all night, or can a man hope for some help with his trouble?"